A very good morning and a cheerful morning to all the viewers of Indore Management Association. Just like a positive thought, a small positive thought in the morning can change your entire day. Similarly, the guidance, the accomplished person with whom I'm sitting right now here, her colossal experience and guidance can transform the businesses like anything. We can have a different mindset as an entrepreneur after interacting with her. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Malini ma'am on my podcast. Please ma'am, a very warm welcome on the podcast of Indore Management Association. Let me just give you a brief about the Indore Management Association. IMA is involved into the skill development of all the entrepreneurs, professionals, and even the homemakers, and all kinds of other organizations and forums, and also having a strong networking, building a strong networking for all these people. Before I actually delve into the question of sustainability in ESG, which is very heavy for all of us to understand, let me just ask you, how do you like the Indore?
Well, thank you very much. I came here at 6 in the morning and it was fantastic because I met two of your colleagues who got up very early in the morning to come to the airport. And from then we've been on a whirlwind tour of Indore, which is absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
I'm so impressed with the city, its cleanliness, its food, which I already experienced. It's just fantastic. And the warmth and the welcome that I've received from the IMA and from the members. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's great. Ma'am, I just wanted to know that you were already having the experience of, you were serving the Indian Revenue Services. You were there working with the Indian Revenue Services. Right. And then you switched to working towards the sustainability and ESG of the business.
Correct.
What is that one moment, what is that trigger point that prompted you, that motivated you that you should start working for the businesses so that they develop the sustainability in them?
Yes. Well, actually, I didn't work with the purpose of, sort of getting people to engage in sustainability. Sustainability came the way of organizations. And so just very briefly, so the journey of sustainability started really with philanthropy. A lot of organizations in India, so were looking at philanthropy and also, so working in the areas around which, sort of their businesses were centered. So there was localized sort of philanthropy.
Okay.
Later on, and, so more recently, I think, so we've all started to realize that if as an enterprise, as a company, if you don't look out for your own sustainability, you're not going to last for long. And so you have to look at a community that thrives. You have to look at a nation that thrives, and only then will you be able to sustain yourself. And you can continue as an entity to also thrive and to flourish. So I think sustainability has become more important. We see now what's happening in our world, climate change, so many social sort of developments that require us to recognize sort of our responsibility as entrepreneurs, as companies. And that's why sustainability has become that much more important now.
Absolutely. So, ma'am, you were also working with HSBC and you had a long closely connection and association with them for the 22 years, I guess, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And then you were shifted to Hong Kong.
Correct.
And you were then looking forward or driving the sustainability amongst the 19 Asian markets.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
So I just wanted to ask, though I wanted to ask about the other countries as well, but specifically being an Indian, I would like to ask, where do you position Indian entrepreneurs or the Indian corporates amongst these 19 Asian markets that they are very much aware about working towards this ESG and sustainability as compared to the other Asian markets?
Right. Well, I think, again, it would be unfair to, so to be able to pull out one country vis-a-vis the others, to compare them to say how, sort of how advanced are you or not in the area of sustainability or ESG. I think this is a journey that we have to take, and it's a global responsibility. It's not something that any one of us can say is just mine alone. And so, so just to step back a bit to say what is it that's going to sustain businesses. It really will be how we look at the opportunities that we want to address. What is our purpose as a company, as an entity, as an enterprise, as an individual? What is my purpose in life? What is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to achieve, and how do I do it? So sustainability really is about what is my purpose as an entity, as an organization, and so how am I going to achieve that? So as a business, again, I have to look at the risks that are there. I have to look at opportunities that are there, and I have to see the impact that I am making and that the environment is making on me as a company, so that I can continue to be sustainable and help my environment to be sustainable. Coming back to your question about India, I think what I did find that sort of Indian enterprise and Indian entrepreneurship is very vibrant, and so you can see that Even in, in our business, our business world, so the largest number of businesses in the country are SMEs. And they're growing to become medium-sized.
Even micro-entrepreneurs,
Micro-entrepreneurs. And I've noticed all these years, sort of driving up and down our roads and now highways and expressways. The moment you build a road, you have enterprise coming up.
Absolutely.
You have shops coming, you have, sort of shopkeepers, you have tradespeople, you have food. All sorts of things come up. So that's really the spirit of enterprise.
So I guess entrepreneurship is in our blood, being an Indian.
Absolutely.
It's in our blood.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ma'am, while I was going through your profile, I have a very specific word. I wanted to know about it. I had read FPOs, Farmer Produce Organization.
Correct.
Much of the people, they don't know about the FPOs. Yes. And one more word which really piques my interest, and that is impact investing. So these two words, I just wanted you to throw some light that what is FPO and what are the objectives of the FPO and what does exactly mean by the impact investing.
Right. Okay. So, well, farmer producer organizations are, sort of collectives of farmers who are producers to help them to, sort of be able to gather data and information first about what crops they're growing, the crops that are, sort of available in the market and how to make them available to the market and where is the market for their produce. So, a farmer producer organization draws on support from the collective of its, its members. So, farmers come together. So, if you're an individual producer, then you have a smaller say in the market. Whereas if you come together, as a collective, then you can negotiate better. So there are many farmer producer organizations that are coming up in rural areas, so that farmers can be, sort of go straight to the market.
So they have been given legal recognition. These FPOs.
Correct.
They are having some special privileges, ma'am, as to the FPOs.
FPOs, sort of get incentives from, from the state, from the, from the local, and they get a whole lot of encouragement. Because they're able to then, sort of feed the market, in a very, very organized way. So that's, I think, the one of the big changes that's taking place in the agrarian sector is that we are now seeing many more FPOs being created. There are many women who are also, sort of coming up into this area. I'll give you the example of this wonderful organization called Mandeshi, which is a women's cooperative bank in an area called Man Taluka in Satara district in Maharashtra. What they've done is that they've created a women's cooperative bank. And the women's cooperative bank also has a foundation, but most importantly, they've created really a school. It's called the first women's rural women's business school. So they train women to be entrepreneurs, and they train them to be rural entrepreneurs.
Wow, fantastic.
And then they've got chambers of commerce. So they have, I think, 7 or 8 of those chambers of commerce, where these rural women. So it's a simple task. I mean, you could have a woman who wants to be a street vendor, a vada pav seller. Where to get potatoes from, where is the best place to buy them. She can ring up and see if the potato price is better in another village. So, how to look for pricing, how to look for marketing, how to look for promoting your, your produce. So this sort of basic micro entrepreneurship, as you called it, is what these ladies get to learn, and then they set up as business. They go and take loans from banks. So it's really a great way to, to engage women in enterprise.
Yes. And what do, ma'am, impact investing is all about?
So impact investing is for investors who want to see that, sort of the money that they invest, or, so it's really the bridge between philanthropy and business. So as an impact investor, I want to see that the money that I'm investing into a community, into a cause, into an activity is reaping, sort of an impact which is visible. And sometimes impact is not visible in the short term, but it's something that should be visible in the longer term as well. So impact investing really is, sort of the ability to see a return on the investment that I'm making into the community, into society, into, sort of a not-for-profit or, sort of for-profit.
So it's again the investing in the ESG format.
Yes. So ESG basically, sort of to take you back to this question of ESG. So what is ESG? So ESG is environment, social and governance,
right.
Which is really a measurement metric. But really, ESG is really about how an organization looks at itself. Again, going back to this question of what is the purpose of the organization, what is the goal that it has set itself to achieve, and how it's going to achieve that. So E is about environment, which is about that organization's own efficiency.
Yeah.
To measure what it's expending in terms of energy, to measure the impact that it's having
using
on
the resources of
what are the resources that are used, how to reduce sort of the use of resource, so that you're that much more efficient.
Absolutely.
So E is also about efficiency, and it can sort of impact your bottom line very positively also.
Wow.
The social is S is the social, which is about the impact that you have on society outside of your organization and even within. So it's about sort of how you look after your employees within the organization, sort of how you treat your customers. It's about how you treat the environment within which you're operating. And the G, which is governance, which is how well you run yourself as an outfit. So ESG is really about sort of proper conduct, and has become a term that is used for measuring what you're doing.
It's a metric.
Correct.
It's a metric.
And once you measure, then you have a value that can be ascribed to it.
Okay.
And now you find that you have ESG investing. So you have investment funds that are investing in companies that are good, sort of in terms of governance, and are able to measure and report what they're doing in terms of their ESG. So you have funds that are investing in ESG funds. In India itself, I think you have about 8 or 9 mutual fund companies now that have set up and sort of open ESG funds.
ESG funds.
So they identify companies that have sort of good scores on ESG ratings, and then they sort of map those and they track those and they invest in those, so that you can create an ESG index.
Wow. I actually saw your video in which you were narrating and mentioning some statistics, some brilliant statistics. You had mentioned that some approximately $1.7 trillion of the asset, that's the size of the asset under the management, which is already taken care by the mutual funds all around the world. And some 3,700 crores of the investments in the mutual funds taking care of this ESG and the governance were already fetched, already parked. People already parked their money.
That's right.
So still, what I feel is there are large chunk of the investors still they're not aware about these thematic investments, thematic mutual funds. Right? So is there any government doing some kind of initiatives to bring the awareness among the investors that you give your money or you park their investments in the mutual funds or actually building the businesses, sustainable businesses?
So actually, this is the job of sort of the investor to seek, and it is the job of the investment company, sort of the mutual fund or the sort of the fund to inform and educate its customers about these things. There's a lot of awareness that is building up. So so this whole thing of sort of socially responsible investing is what it used to be called first. That started in Europe some 20 plus years ago, and in India now we see sort of a strong growth of interest. So it is in the interest of investors also, and it is their growing interest which gets them to invest in certain types of companies. So you will have people who will say, I will not invest in a company that is manufacturing sort of a certain type of produce that I don't believe is ethical, that I don't believe is correct or good.
That might be doing some harm to the environment.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
So you have more and more investors now who are asking these questions. They want to know that a company is a good company. I think the biggest sort of advancement for ESG investing is actually been introduced by SEBI last year, when they, if you're familiar with the BSR and the BRSR. So BRSR is business reporting and business responsibility and sustainability reporting. So before that, there was the BSR, which was the business sustainability reporting. And so what SEBI has done is that it has asked the top 1,000 listed companies to report on BRSR, which they have established norms, and they want all companies to report on those. What will happen is that now they're going to gather data, right? So I will report from year 1, I think this year was the first year, and I will report year on year my performance against the norms that has been established by SEBI. So actually a database is being created and a baseline is being formed. So my performance sort of on the BRSR will actually be able to create an index also.
Absolutely.
So at some point
it's visible to the public. I mean, the whole public can now see what are you doing towards the environment. And
so there's more visibility, there's more transparency
absolutely.
in how companies are performing, and so you will actually have that will impact sort of the way in which investors can choose how to invest.
Right. Ma'am, you also joined Watershed organization. I mean, the non-profit organization.
Yes.
I just wanted to know the objective of this.
Yes. So it's called WOTR, Watershed Organization Trust. So WOTR started about over 30 years ago and it was created with the purpose of putting funds into helping people identify, restore watersheds, and to improve really sort of water conservation in water-starved areas. So it started in Maharashtra, and it now is operating in 7 states. In fact, it's operated in about 10 states. Its programs are active right now in about 7 states. Water goes where, the term is perfect because water stands for water as well.
Absolutely.
But water helps, sort of farmers, rural communities, sort of become resilient. And today, I think when we talk of climate change, we talk of mitigation, we talk of adaptation, but the most important word is resilience. Because when climate changes, as we have seen it is, happening,
absolutely.
Communities, each of us has to become more resilient, and we have to be adaptable to change.
There is no other option. There is no other option of becoming resilient.
We have to be resilient, and certainly we have to try and sort of reduce the impact that we are having right now on the environment, which is causing climate to change. So what water does is that it works with rural communities. So it's really the rural poor. And how do you alleviate rural poverty? By giving them livelihood. Livelihood comes from more efficient farming. Livelihood comes from water that is available so that you can be more efficient in farming. So water works in watershed conservation. Watershed works in sort of alleviation of poverty through education.
That's
through
great.
Enterprise.
That's brilliant. That's lovely.
And they too have about 20 odd, I think, FPOs. So they're helping farmers.
Farmer-produce organizations. Now I'm very well acquainted with farmer-produce organizations because I was wondering, what does it mean, FPOs?
Correct.
I just came across this word for the first time, probably reading your profile.
Right.
One last question, ma'am.
Sure.
And this question is strictly coming from my heart. We used to cycle and then make science and technological progress together. And now we are done with this. Since the science and the technology is progressing, now we go to the gym.
Right.
And do the cycle. So I find this is a vicious circle. This is what we are doing. First, we are in the technological advancement, in the science moving ahead, in the science accelerating. We are harming the environment. We are harming the society. There are a lot of unethical business practices which are carrying around, which are not covered, which are not official. And now the same bringing awareness and consciousness to fix that.
Right.
I think you got my gist. So it's the vicious cycle. So I feel, ma'am, that how far you held responsible science and technology, and what is exactly the parameter of our advancement, our technological advancement, or science accelerating, that where we should stop actually? Is there some parameter? Is there something?
Well, that's a huge question, right? Is the ethics of science. But I think to answer your question, and from what I can gather, you're asking, is science damaging to
and then again we are using the technology to fix this.
Correct.
The technology destroyed us, and now we are again using the technology to fix the thing.
To fix the issues.
So that's the paradox. Absolutely, yes. That's the thing. Correct. So this question just came into my mind, and it's just
Well, I think that's a question of ethics. That's a question of how you use the knowledge that you acquire, how you use the knowledge that you develop, and how you use that for the betterment of society around you. And so it's a huge question which has answers that lie only within yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you develop a technology to find a solution.
To find a solution,
problem,
right? Absolutely.
Which may have been created by science at an earlier age, or technology at an earlier age. So you're absolutely right. We have to keep running faster than our treadmills will allow us to also. So that we can find solutions for maybe problems that have been created by us in the past.
Wow. You are the reservoir, and my quest is never going to be quenched. So I'm just ending my podcast, and just a simple question to ask. How do you, ma'am, rejuvenate, or how do you recreate? What do you feel like do you take a break? I mean,
Oh, I'm on break all the time.
That's great.
I'm a retired person, but I'm a constant learner. So I keep asking questions and learning.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, all the viewers of Indore Management Association. And this morning it has made my day, because I'm sitting right now with such a strategic thinker, with a great visionary. So I'm very happy to have her on my podcast. And thank you for the patient listening. And thank you very much, Malini ma'am, for being so kind and benevolent in sparing your valuable time with us.
Thank you very much. And I'm so happy to see that you're running these podcasts, because you're just widening your audience to in a medium which is a modern development.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.